Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another episode of Total Breakdown. Today's battle is between Dracoknight's Crooked Moon and Ninjahund's Warriors of Chaos. The Greenskins of Crooked Moon are led by a Night Goblin War Boss with Stand Your Ground, Wah, and Spider to Bad Moon. 3 Goblin Big Bosses accompany him on spiders, and his army consists almost entirely of goblins. Almost. We've got Night Goblins, 4 units of Nasty Skulkers, the Warlord's Boys, and the Crimson Killers are only orcs in the front line. 2 units of Night Goblin Archers and the Rusty Errors provide poison and armor sundering support from afar, while the Moon Howlers and Mangy Marauders can utilize their Vanguard deployment and hit-and-run tactics to get some early damage in, while the 2 units of Squig Herd and 2 units of Orc Boar Boys will cause a great deal of damage to enemy infantry health and morale coming in from multiple directions. Dracoknight has gone for a very large army, looking to overwhelm the Warriors of Chaos with numbers and, ironically, some chaos of their own. The Warriors of Chaos are led by Kolek Suneater coming in with Lord of the Storm and Standard Die. His Chaos Sorcerer of Fire is in the air with Kindle Flame, Fireball, and Arcane Conduit, while his lines consist of 5 units of Chaos Marauders ranked up to rank 2, 3 units of Aspiring Champions ranked up to rank 9, and a unit of Forsaken. Possibly expecting a Savage Orc build, we're going in with numbers and magical damage, with a touch of fast-moving units in the Forsaken as well, with the Chaos Trolls bringing in a fair amount of armor-piercing damage ranked up to rank 9 to counter their naturally low leadership. Alright, as always, we're going to start with a conversation about deployment. As you can see, the Warriors of Chaos actually come to the field with some sense of decorum, while it's the Greenskins of the Crooked Moon clan that actually have a bit more chaos among them. Up top on this hill, we have all 4 units of Nasty Skulkers spread about. They all have stock, so they're going to be able to sneak their way up, alongside the Night Goblin Archers up here. So again, able to push forward, get a flanking maneuver in during the battle, or start off by blocking off any approaches the enemy might have up this hill over here. While in the center here, you'll see we have the Night Goblins, the Warlord's Boys, the Rusty Errors, as well as these Night Goblin Archers. All of these units have stock. They're hidden in the trees as well, able to get some damage in nice and early, or again, if the enemy's pushing up this way, able to push in with a flanking maneuver of their own. We also have, as you can see, the Moon Howlers over here, as well as Mogrub's Mangy Marauders, again, able to push in, kite, get some early damage in from range and in melee. While all the way back here, you'll see we have sort of the units that can't Vanguard deploy. We've got 2 units of Squig Herd tucked away in these trees, trying to keep them hidden, again, able to push up this hill if necessary, or provide support in the center if and when the time comes. And then we've got the Crimson Killers and both units of Orc Boar Boys here, alongside the Night Goblin War Boss and all 3 units of Goblin Big Bosses, or rather I should say all 3 Goblin Big Bosses. So the leadership here able to quickly push forward here, maybe come in from the flanks if necessary, or pull up this way if the engagements begin on this side right away. Now let's take a look at the Warriors of Chaos again. A lot more orderly over here, a bit more simple. We've got that front line of Chaos Marauders, and sort of scattered amidst them, we do have the Aspiring Champions. Again, these guys are ranked up really high, so they're able to stick in there, get a lot of damage in. They're very heavily armored, and they have some serious damage-dealing capabilities. Then we've got the Chaos Trolls right behind them, again, ranked up all the way so that they can actually stick around for longer, a much higher leadership than they're used to, and they'll do a lot of armor-piercing damage. Kolek Suneater providing support to the center, while this unit of Forsaken off to the side a little bit, able to push in for flanking maneuvers, getting rear charges in, and of course they are very quick, so they can close some gaps pretty quickly. And then finally, we do of course have the Chaos Sorcerer of Fire up in the air as well, able to dive in for melee support and also cause some serious damage with Fireball or in melee. So with all that said, let's take a look at how this battle breaks down. Now, almost right away, you'll notice the Greenskin units back here, the leadership does push forward as the Chaos Sorcerer of Fire pushes forward as well. Inevitably, the enemy is going to go exploring in the central location, so as a response to that, we do have these guys all pushing forward just in case the Chaos Sorcerer decides to dive into melee. A couple of shots do come in from the Rusty Errors and scare the Chaos Sorcerer away, and now they're pulling up just to check, rather he's pulling up just to see if there's anything up here. Always a good call. Battlefield awareness is extremely important, so just scouting, getting some information, and you can see how far the Chaos Sorcerer actually has to go before these Nasty Skulkers are revealed, but the Night Goblin Archers over here already responding, pulling forward to try and get some shots off if the Chaos Sorcerer decides to dive in, and of course he does, gets a little bit of damage into these Nasty Skulkers, and tries to pop, I think, Fireball, and all these arrows come in and cause a decent amount of damage. The poison's going to help the Nasty Skulkers as well, of course, and these Nasty Skulkers pull out of the trees to try and cause some damage, trying to hold the Chaos Sorcerer in place and get rid of magic from the field right from the get-go. Meanwhile, you'll see over here we also have the Crimson Killers pushing up alongside the Orc Boar Boys. These guys are getting into formation, pushing up over here, just to make sure that they're able to come in from the rears and the sides if these guys decide to push forward this way after having seen a couple of those units down here. At the same time, the Nasty Skulkers now, with all the cards on the table, are forced to pull up. A couple of these units were spotted by the Chaos Sorcerer, and I think the Warriors of Chaos were relatively aware of what's going on here, so they decide to pull over to this side and actually form up over here in case these guys all pour forth from here. At the In doing that, though, of course, they're able to spot the Moon Howlers over here, and they actually decide to pull back to get into some safety so that these guys aren't able to just charge and close the gap, so they pull away a little bit, and the Chaos Sorcerer fire again, pushing through while these Nasty Skulkers still making their very long journey down that hill and over to this flank over here. And at this point, you'll see Kolick does decide to push in and get some damage into the Warlord's Boys alongside the Chaos Sorcerer fire. Of course, those guys are an open target, very ready to get hit, and so all of these guys just dive in. We've got the Chaos Trolls diving in, some of these Aspiring Champions, Chaos Marauders, and almost right away the Warlord's Boys are taking a lot of damage and are very willing to give up. You can see they're wavering already, very close to routing, and meanwhile the Nasty Skulkers are being forced down here, while we do have the Goblin Big Bosses pouring into this combat situation, but of course a very dangerous situation for them as well. Night Goblin Archers over here as well, being surrounded by these Chaos Trolls as they come charging in alongside these Chaos Marauders, and you'll see the Night Goblin War Boss as well as the Goblin Big Bosses decide better of getting in this engagement and pull away to the side, while these Night Goblins do have to push in and try and hold this army in place. Up here you'll see the Moon Howlers do get engaged by these Chaos Marauders. The Chaos Sorcerer is being shot up by the Rusty Errors, but Kolick has some plans for those guys, going in alongside these Chaos Trolls to shut down that range support and make sure that the Chaos Sorcerer is safe up in the air. Meanwhile, you'll see the Squig Herd here as well, being sent in to finally respond to the situation, while the Orc Boar Boys back here need to be sent in a lot more quickly if they're going to get any work done. The Nasty Skulkers still have a long way to go before they dive into this combat situation over here. The Rusty Errors are being taken care of. They're already terrified with Kolick in there, beating on the Crimson Killers as well. Those guys are taking a lot of damage, almost instantaneously falling apart. Meanwhile, the Squig Herd, you can see, are pushing in to try and get some engagements off, while all the way up here, the Moon Howlers do get hit by the Lord of the Storm. Unfortunately, just staying stationary, not doing anything, eating that shot, losing about 50% of their health. They really need to be sent in for some rear and side charges, but instead they're standing there. And meanwhile, down here, you'll see a Fireball does go down, devastating the Goblin Big Boss there. A lot of hurt done. Kindle Flame is active. The Crimson Killers took a little bit of hurt as well. And now the Orc Boar Boys do come in with some rear charges. So great move there. Finally coming in with some rear charge support. These guys are able to push in as well. Unfortunately, though, they do dive into some of their own units, and so don't really get as much damage into the enemy as possible. However, these guys are holding fast. Despite being completely surrounded, you can see them having been ranked up is making a huge difference. Meanwhile, we do have these Night Goblin Archers as well, firing into the fray here, trying to get some damage in, trying to get some poison damage in as well. While down here, the Mogrov's Minji Marauders are firing away these Chaos Marauders. They really should be focusing down Kolick or the Chaos Sorcerer, trying to get some damage into some of those high-value units, while these guys can be hunted down by Squig Herd or, Crimson Killers, something like that. Meanwhile, you'll see the Night Goblin War Boss is made to run away as well, terrified, running away, while another Fireball comes in from the Chaos Sorcerer, does a decent amount of damage, and the Goblin War Boss is almost taken care of already. Meanwhile, over here, you'll see the fire does continue. We do have another charge coming from the Orc Boar Boys, getting a full surround once more. A nice cycle charge there. The Moon Howlers decide to dive in as well, and finally, some of these Chaos Warriors are falling apart. These guys are a bit more worried about their situation now. Chaos Trolls are routing. We've got a couple of these guys routing over here as well. Smoke Bomb does go off, reducing their speed. That was maybe not the best idea. At this point, you want them to get away because you want to try and isolate Kolick. You do see the Goblin Big Boss here does dive into Kolick and does a decent amount of damage to morale, getting Kolick to start wavering here. So it's only a matter of sticking in that combat situation and making sure that Kolick does fall apart. Unfortunately, over here, the Night Goblin War Boss does continue to rout, heads towards the edge of the field, does not want to stick around and fight, understandably so. Meanwhile, another Lord of the Storm does come down onto these Moon Howlers, causing a decent amount of damage to them as well as the Nasty Skulkers. And meanwhile, you'll see we do have some of these Marauders running away, while these Trolls themselves do decide to dive in alongside Kolick Sun Eater, still willing to stick and fight. Meanwhile, Mogrov's Minji Marauders not doing enough work here. They do need to be pushed up a little bit further, and back here as well, we've got these Night Goblin Archers not doing anything, wasting their time. Again, looking pretty. They need to be brought here, opening shots off into what's left of the Chaos Army because they are on the route right now. Meanwhile, in the center, you'll see Kolick is able to beat away at the Crimson Killers, causing a lot of damage there, hurting some of these Nasty Skulkers as well, and doing a decent amount of work to the Goblin Big Bosses as well. These guys need to pull out and come in for some cycle charges, get a decent amount of damage done. The Nasty Skulkers need to push in as well, and if we can just get the Moon Howlers and the Orc Boys to come in for some rear charges, these guys, well, their fate would be sealed. Unfortunately, they instead decide to go chasing after some of these routing units, and that's not always a bad idea. You do want to shut down routing units, make sure they don't return to the field, but you don't need all three of your cavalry units to do that. If it was just this one unit of Orc Boar Boys chasing these guys away, that'd be perfect, and these guys could come down for some additional rear charges, surround what's left of these aspiring champions, and try and get them to run off the field, because right now they're causing a lot of damage. Again, they can do a lot of work against infantry, and they're doing just that. Meanwhile, over here you'll see the Mogrov's Minji Marauders still wasting shots at the Chaos Marauders here as they're being hit by the Squig Herd. Instead, the Minji Marauders should have been firing away at the aspiring champions, get through some of that really heavy armor and get some damage done, and the Nasty Skulkers as well, just being beat up, completely routing now. And at the same time, the Moon Howlers over here were completely terrified, trying to hit Kolick Sun Eater. They get turned around, scared, they don't want to engage him. and you can't really blame them, and they're now leaving the field. Meanwhile, you'll see Kolik's trying to close the gap here, trying to shut down some of that range support alongside these trolls as well. But everyone from the Greenskin perspective is on their way out. They don't want to stick around and fight. Just a little bit of range support coming in, trying to shut down Kolik, but that's not enough. Goblin Big Boss as well, diving in, trying to shut him down, but not soon enough before Kolik is able to dive into those Night Goblin Archers and get them to rout as well. Meanwhile, you'll see we've got the Orc Boar Boys chasing after Kolik as well. Goblin Big Boss finally able to get some damage done, but Standard Eye does go down to keep up melee defense to make sure that Kolik isn't taking a lot of damage. Of course, it's helping the Chaos Trolls as well. The Orc Boar Boys there, as well as the Goblin Big Boss, both terrified away, and as the Night Goblin War Boss leaves the field, you can see the entire Greenskin army is giving up. They don't want to stick around and fight anymore. Most of these guys are routing, pulling away over here. These Orc Boar Boys as well, pushing in now to Kolik and then deciding, you know, maybe not. And as they turn around and pull up this way, at this point in time, it would have been great if the Crooked Moon clan decided to consolidate. Right now, they're sort of disparate. There's a pocket of them here, a pocket over here, a couple of guys over here, some units over here. They really need to pull themselves together atop this hill, or, you know, perhaps even further back somewhere over here, just to make sure the entire army is together and they can regroup, because any single unit right now, or any single one of these clumps right now, if engaged by, you know, the Chaos Trolls or Kolik Sun Eater, would be very easily taken care of. So it's very important to consolidate at this point in time, and you can see these guys are sort of pushing away into the center here, maybe trying to consolidate over here, but that's a bad call, because any one of these units can more or less close that gap before they're able to actually get together, these Greenskins. So just trying to do, well, exactly that. These nasty Skulkers are pushing in. They are hidden, of course, because they have stock, but the Crimson Killers are giving them away, as well as these Orc Boar Boys, and you'll see we do have another Lord of the Storm coming in onto the Crimson Killers here, well targeted, doing a lot of damage there, again, bringing their health and morale down, and now they're hidden in the trees, but it's pretty obvious where they are. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out, and you can see all the Warriors of Chaos decide to go piling in. Kolik, of course, being a little bit more careful, doesn't want to eat too much damage on the way in, because if he does fall, the Warriors of Chaos will be in a tough situation, but at this point, the Crimson Killers, you can see, are falling apart. The Orc Boar Boys try to get a surround in, but it's far too little, far too late. The Night Goblin Archers here firing away at, it looks like, Kolik, but again, able to just push through. He's got scaly skin, so he's not taking too much damage. All of these guys start to get terrified. They're all on their way out, and the Orc Boar Boys down here as well. No real safe point of engagement for these guys, these nasty Skulkers as well, pushing up, but far too late. And that was a core issue with the entire Greenskin arrangement there. Everything was far too late, moving far too slowly, and not able to work together. And as a result of that, the Warriors of Chaos are able to sort of go piece by piece and take the Greenskin army apart. And even now, you'll see as Kolik is being shot up by all those arrows, he does not care. He's got Standard Eye active, leadership is staying high for him and the troops around him, and the Greenskins are all falling apart, ready to leave the field. The Goblin Big Boss, they're putting up a good fight, but ultimately it's just not enough. But a valiant effort, and as a result, a valiant defeat for the Greenskins of Crooked Moon. Now, they did a good job bringing their own brand of chaos to the field. With great numbers, they were able to deploy in a very interesting fashion, allowing them to attack the enemy from multiple sides. Unfortunately, the ruse was uncovered very early on by a curious Sorcerer of Fire, and the army was split too far apart to respond in time for maximum efficiency. The vanguard force was quickly taken care of, more or less, while the flanking Skulkers arrived just in time to be dealt with as well. More cycle charging could have made a big difference as well, but ultimately, the Warriors of Chaos overpowered the numerous but weaker Crooked Moon units. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to see such great battles from the community to highlight. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.